What is happening? Welcome to the Will Studios. I'm Will, and I'm going to be doing a tutorial series on my channel. Um, just teaching the young kids how to draw. I spent hours learning this stuff. Let's see if I've gleaned anything from it. Let's do hands. And just because everything I do here is autopilot. This is just the first sort of hand thing that popped into my mind. I forgot I was on this brush from last night. It's a very off-the-cuff episode where I'll be talking about the anatomy of the hands. See if anyone watches this and thinks I'm a good teacher. But see, now we have something. We already have something here. So let's lower the opacity down. Let's switch to different brush. And what, like I said before, whatever's going on up here, maybe that was the last video. Drawing is literally whatever you imagine coming out onto the page, and how good is the connection between your brain and your hand, you know? That's why it takes hours and hours of effort to get good, and then if you're like me, you spend a lot of that time questioning if you're even good. So I'm coming in with a harder brush just to help define the outline here. What's crazy is, and this is just something that happens to me a lot when I'm trying to draw complex anatomy like hands, is that I'll think it through a certain way, and then there comes a time in the polishing step where I start really second guessing myself, and it starts to not look right. So, like, for instance, this ring finger here. Like, the middle finger looks okay, and then I lose it at the ring finger a little bit. And in this case, it's because the hand... can I get the right on that? Well, okay, so I need to curve the pinky a bit more, and I need to have the ring finger follow the path of that middle finger a little bit better. Because when I look at my hand, it turns out, okay, that doesn't really deviate too much from where the middle finger's going. curve the pinky a little more. But then what is this hand even doing? Anyway, it's just being creepy. It's the thing. Let's just call it the Addams Family hand. Give it a shadow so it looks like it's on a table there. Delete that. A lot of what I feel like people get wrong, especially early on, they don't understand this. You gotta understand how the skin moves. So what I mean by that is there's like ligaments there between like the thumb leading up, between each of the fingers, like there's that little bit of webbing there, you know what I mean? And when you curve your hand, it gets pulled around, like the skin gets pulled around. So you kind of got to draw it bunching over here, almost like clothes. You got to think about the skin on a hand like a leather jacket almost, depending on who you're drawing. Maybe not that rough, but I'm going to darken up the important lines, you know. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable putting like fingernails on the nails. I feel like a lot of times you look at anime, they're not putting fingernails on anybody. But then to me it looks all like I never expect of others what I demand of myself, I guess is what I'm saying. Because I will sit there and stress over tiny bullshit, and I'll end up coming out with something that doesn't even look good in the end. Let's just merge these down. I look at all these early videos that I'm making as test run sort of deal. Man, I'm already at 10 minutes. I wanted the tutorial videos to be a bit shorter because my blogs are about an hour. I think an hour is a good length for a blog if I'm talking about something, if I'm sitting talking to people. But if someone's trying to learn from me, I feel like 10 minutes tops, because whenever I'm watching a tutorial, I'll watch only like a small bit of it. if they're going on too long, because I just want to get back to what I'm doing. I'm doing this really kind of quick and messy just because I want to talk about the anatomy, but it's also like I want it to be kind of clean. And so, like I was saying about the leather jacket, a lot of times, like I put those 2 lines here earlier, but in the end product, it's really just going to be like the 1 line coming down off the top, right? And maybe like a little extra shadow there. And then in the tutorial, I'm just going to keep repeating certain things in these tutorials, like it's all about what's going on up here. If you're not visualizing it in your head, you're going to have a really hard time getting the final product to look like anything. How should I paint this here? Let's just do that. Let's do this. Oh, wait a minute. I wanted color fill. There's probably way better ways to do things. I keep seeing people talk about masking layers and stuff, but I'm Photoshop illiterate. Or in this case, Procreate illiterate. So, since I have the outline on a layer, I can select it and then switch to a new layer, make that one invisible, and there we go. Now I have my mat. That's probably 2 steps more than most people would take, honestly. Come in with a real big light, shadows, and then tighten up a little bit. These, I'm still going to keep it relatively loose. There we go. I think that looks alright. Like, that's not bad at all. Let's delete that thing. Yeah, it's a decent little hand. We're at 15 minutes. Let's do another hand real quick. What should this hand be doing? Grabbing something? Oh, there's another thing to bring up with hands. Think about what it is that they're holding and don't just draw like a fist with stuff coming out of it, you know? Because he's holding it, he's gripping it, you know what I mean? The fingers are doing things. So, like, if I'm drawing a hand gripping a sword, when I come up here where the finger starts, I'm actually putting that up and I'm thinking, where's the handle? What shape is the handle? When someone holds a sword, typically the guard's like right up there against, not right up against, you know, but close to. So from that angle, I only really need to draw the top knuckles there. Always draw a little bit of the wrist. These hands are looking alright. Let's do another one. Doing kind of reaching out, you know, so I can talk about how sometimes you only gonna see the knuckles. And that space between the middle and ring finger. That's something that you gotta get comfortable drawing. Especially like me, I'm drawing comic books. I'm gonna be drawing a lot of like dramatic stuff. People are gonna be communicating with their hands a lot. That looks pretty good. And I'm doing this. Let's bring this up here to this next layer. Keeping in mind, okay. Shoot. Like, what part of the fingers am I looking at? See, the nail always makes things freaking awkward. It just does. It feels awkward. Then I gotta look at it and convince myself that it actually looks okay. Dude's kind of got sausage fingers here. And where did we fuck up? This whole thing's effed up. What's wrong with it? Let's get the red. The first hand tutorial I started recording, I started talking about how important the wrist placement was in determining and what it is you're doing. What's going on? What are we explaining with the scene? Is that where it is? Okay, yeah. So this is what's happening here. Is that the wrist is back here, right? And then the thumb knuckle is way over here. So if I'm going to reverse engineer the first hand that I drew, you can see how there's a gap here, like it's a broken hand. The thumb should be way back here, and it should be splayed out a little more. And then the pointer finger can come up, and middle finger's about where it needs to be. We can splay out that ring finger a little bit, bring it down, and then the pinky. So then we have this nice curve there with the tips of the fingers, with the knuckles, and the thumb coming out. And that is prettier. It's prettier, it makes way more sense. Not trying to do that. Come in with some black. And when we're drawing a hand, we planned out the wrist and everything like that, but obviously people aren't gonna see the wrist. We gotta know where it is so that it makes sense to us and so that it looks good in the final product there. I'm assuming everyone has music going on another tab if anyone's watching this at all. I'm listening to lo-fi just so I can tolerate the silence. That looks not too bad. Honestly, I would probably bring that up a little bit. Meh, good enough. Meh, not really good. That's a C. So, if I'm going to grade these hands, this one here, I'm going to give it B plus. Because no matter how long I look at it, nothing's really standing out to me as being horrible except for like the shading and the things that even it's not too bad. This one over here, I'm gonna get a D, D minus. Good effort, but in the end product, I'm still looking at it, I'm thinking something's wrong with it. I'll spend like 18 hours figuring that out. And then this one, just freaking A plus. I didn't have to think about fingers or knuckles or anything. We're just holding a sword. And we're looking at it from an angle that's very forgiving. So I could probably tilt this sword a little differently if I'm thinking about the thumb. The thumb's completely hidden back there. The thumb's back here on the sword. So that all makes sense. Alright, well I hope you got something out of this tutorial. Ended up going for 30 minutes. I might be a little too low energy and chill to do a concise tutorial on this stuff. But hey, we're only 3 episodes into the channel. I'm still learning. There's a lot going on. I forgot to turn on my front-facing light. Whatever, I look good. Well, thanks for joining me anyway. See you next time for more tutorials.